Councillors, can I have your attention, please? I welcome you all to this virtual meeting of the Cardinia Shire Council and declare the meeting open. We will commence the meeting with the following reflection. I would ask those gathered to join us now for a few moments of silence as we reflect on our roles in this chamber. Please use this opportunity for reflection, prayer or thought to focus on our shared intention to work respectfully together for the well-being of our whole community. Thank you, councillors. The Cardinia Shire Council respectfully acknowledges that we are on the traditional land of the Bunurong and Wurundjeri people and pay our respects to the elders past, present and emerging. Apologies, and we have no apologies for this evening, but I will note that Councillor Ryan was having some difficulties logging on, and she's just going through a process of trying to accommodate that. So we will hopefully see her jump up on our screen very shortly. Minutes of previous meetings. Can I have a motion, please, to adopt the minutes of the previous meetings as listed? Moved by Councillor Ross and seconded by Councillor Cameron. All those in favour, councillors, please raise your hands. I declare that item carried. Thank you. Declarations of interest. And councillors, I will now ask you, is there any declarations of interest that you feel to declare for the proceedings of tonight's meeting? There being none, I will continue to ordinary business. The council conducts its meetings according to a consent agenda. Councillors have advised of the matters for consideration this evening that they wish to discuss or debate. The remaining items will be adopted without discussion. The items withdrawn for tonight's proceedings are as follows. Item 6.2.1, Officer Tennis Club Petition Response, withdrawn by Councillor Radford. Councillor Radford, can you please move this item?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, tonight I've withdrawn item 6.2.1, Officer Tennis Club Petition Response, and I move the officer's recommendations, which is that Council 1, note the officer response to the Officer Tennis Club petition provided in this report and the works proposed to improve the accessibility of the toilet facility. 2, consider this project in accordance with building upgrade priorities, which informs future capital works programs. And 3, thanks the lead petitioner for the petition and requests council officers to advise the lead petitioner of council's resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bradford. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Owen. I'll now go back to the mover to speak to this item first.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Owen, for your second. And I just add, I think Councillor Owen was a young player in his young days at the Officer Tennis Club, so knows very well what this petition is about. So this petition is about improving the accessibility and the toilet facilities, not just for people with disabilities, but for people with all abilities, because currently the toilets are very poor standard. The female's toilet doesn't even lock, so that's not very safe either. And so the club did put in a petition, which I submitted at the council meeting on the 21st of March. It had 98 signatures requesting for these upgrades to be considered. These also included disabled car parking bays and suitable change facilities for females and, of course, the accessible toilet. There was an access upgrade program suggestion a few years ago, which previously allocated funding to an accessible toilet for the officer club. At the time, council did discuss this with council. They were very involved in this decision, but decided that they didn't want this temporary fix at that time. One, because it was just a modular addition to the facility, and they were concerned that by accepting this, they would then be dropped off the program for a full upgrade with proper changing facilities. So they were very nervous in accepting that at the time, because their overall aim is to see this facility upgraded for all users, not just those with a disability. So the petition was put out there. It has been signed. I'd like to actually just quickly mention one of the club members, Sammy Rolfe. She is a wheelchair, in a wheelchair, and is the first person at the Officer Tennis Club to participate in wheelchair tennis. So discussing with her, she said to me she just wants to be able to access the club room, which she can't currently do, at the bathroom, and have a proper changing facility. And she would like to see more opportunities for people with a disability to participate in sports in the outer suburbs of Melbourne. It's not practical for her to get into the inner suburbs of Melbourne to attend a better facility. So she really would like to see this facility upgraded. So I know that there will be a building conditions audit, which is done for all council buildings, and this has been undertaken to assist in prioritising works for that program in the years to come. And so the facility has been included in that building condition audit report, which isn't available at the moment. So I'll leave it there for the moment to pass on to my seconder. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Radford. Look, I'll just make a quick note that Councillor Ryan has now joined us, and I did note at the start of the meeting that you were having some technical difficulties and you would be joining us shortly. So thank you, Councillor Ryan. I'll now go to Councillor Owen, the seconder, to speak to this item.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Radford, for your comments. I support you in your advocacy on this item. Officer is our second largest town in Cardinia. The population is booming in Officer, and we've got this old facility, tennis facility. So no doubt it's in need of an upgrade. So I do look forward to the results of the audit that officers have undertaken that will come to councillors in the coming months, which will feed into budget decision making for future budgets and other grant opportunities through state and federal government. So I also want to acknowledge the great advocacy work of the club over many years, as stated by Councillor Radford. So I support this resolution and look forward to that audit coming back so we can prioritise what's most important, what's most needed for upgraded facilities across Cardinia. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Owen. Are there any other councillors that would like to speak to this item? Councillor Ryan, I'll go to you next.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Radford. I think it's really important that we talk about disabilities. We're not afraid to talk about disabilities and what the needs are. And it doesn't matter where we go, we're enhancing more and more what people can do. Just because they've got a disability doesn't mean to say they can't do the same as all of us. We just have to modify things. So I'm in support of this. I think it's something that has to be done and follow through with all right through Cardinia Shire. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. Would any other councillors like to speak to this item? There being none, I'll just make a quick mention that I also support this item moving forward. I've met with the Officer Tennis Club out there and the Rec Reserve Committee out there a number of times over the years, and these facilities are in need of upgrades. And I know they're not alone for any other groups out there that might be listening in, but we are here to support as best we can for all of our local groups across the breadth of our entire Shire of their needs. And so I do fully support us doing an audit on this, seeing where it can lie and how we can advocate for seeing this done and improved to the best ability. So thank you, councillors. I'll now return to Councillor Radford to summarise. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Owen and Councillor Ryan, for your words there. I appreciate that. So just in conclusion, just noting that this petition has been received from the Officer Tennis Club requesting upgrades to their facilities and to make them more accessible and female friendly. So I also note in this conclusion that the club did submit a detailed design and costings as a budget submission when that was open, and I know that council will discuss that with them, and officers will continue to support the club with operational and governance matters. At the moment, the pavilion is being assessed as part of Council's building condition audit program, where the priority for upgrades of the existing facility will then be determined and submitted as part of Council's Buildings Asset Renewal Program with Council's Capital Works Program. So I congratulate the club for taking the initiative to get this petition signed and sending it into Council to raise their issues and concerns. Congratulations to Sammy Rolfe as well for all the strong advocating that she has been doing as a person with a disability, and getting that out into the community as well. So I applaud her bravery on that. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bradford. Councillors, we'll now put this to a vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Declare that carried. Thank you, councillors. Moving up to the next item is item 6.2.2, Community Wellbeing and Support Grants Recommendations, withdrawn by Councillor Kowalczyk. If Councillor Kowalczyk would like to move.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that Council approve 34 applications for funding under the 2022-23 Community Wellbeing Support Grant Program to the value of $60,642.61.
Thank you, Councillor Kowalczyk. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Ross. Back to you, Councillor Kowalczyk, to speak to this item first.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Ross, for your second. The Community Wellbeing Support Grant Program provides support for sustainable initiatives that improves health and wellbeing, supports volunteer development, and builds capacity of community organisations. Council received 42 Community Wellbeing Support Grant applications for the 2022-23 grant round, totalling $84,000 or just over. Following an extensive assessment process, grant applications have been evaluated against eligibility, and it is recommended that 34 applications be approved for funding. Looking through the list of requests for funding, there's a diversity of applications that shows a really good spread from groups around the community. They represent a really broad base that all make a positive contribution to Cardinia in their own way. Given the extensive assessment process officers undertake, and I do thank them for their hard work in this space, I think it's appropriate that we approve the 34 applications for a funding total of $64,642.61. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Kowalczyk. Councillor Ross is the seconder to speak next. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Kowalczyk, for withdrawing this item. I must concur with Councillor Kowalczyk. This is an excellent program. It's been running for a long time on Council, and it does certainly provide the community with many needed grant opportunities that they can actually individualise with their applications that go in. They hugely benefit Council. I mean, hugely benefit the residents of Cardinia Shire, particularly the groups that request these things, because they know best what the needs are within inside the groups that they have. Anyway, I look forward to seeing, and as we go around, as all councillors will find things in our own seats that our own wards that will benefit these projects, and we'll be able to have a look and see what benefits they are. Anyway, thank you. I hope everyone supports this. It's a great initiative, and I encourage more people in the community to apply for them. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. Would any other councillors like to speak to this item? Look, there being none others, I'll just have a few quick words before I go back to Councillor Kowalczyk, and just to note that it is one of our grants programs that we've run for many years since I've been on council, and it's a wonderful thing to have an opportunity to give back to these community groups that are delivering so much for our community. We've run off the backbone of volunteers and community volunteers out there that are willing to go above and beyond, and us to give them have a grants program to deliver a few dollars here and a few dollars there to enable their great work across the entire breadth of our Shire is so important. So I do fully support this, continuing well into the future, and I wish well to all the recipients of this grant round program. I'll now go back to the mover, Councillor Kowalczyk, to summarise. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Just in summary, the Community Wellbeing Support Grant Program provides funding for sustainable initiatives that helps build capacity of our community organisations. I support the 34 grant applications as recommended in the report. Councillor Ross, you said it well. This program gives community groups the initiative to tell us what they need, which is great that they have that sense of ownership. When you look back at some of the outcomes that have come from this program in the past, our community really does benefit from this a great deal, which is fantastic. Following a formal endorsement tonight, grant applicants will be advised of the outcome in a formal letter of offer. I hope my fellow councillors support this. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Kowaczyk. I will now put this to a vote. All councillors in favour, please raise your hands. I declare that item unanimously carried. Thank you, councillors. Moving along, next item is item 6.2.3, Growing Suburbs Fund 2022-23 project nominations, withdrawn by Councillor Owen. Councillor Owen, the move.
Thank you, Mayor. I move the following. That Council 1 endorse the following list of applications under the 2022 to 23 Growing Suburbs Fund program in priority order. IYU Recreation Reserve Regional Athletics Pavilion, Upper Beaconsfield Community Sport and Scout Facility, and PB Ronald Reserve Public Toilet Redevelopment. 2, notes if the above GSF applications are successful, Council's contribution detailed in this report will be incorporated into future capital works budgets. I move so. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Owen. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Kowaczyk. I'll go back to you, Councillor Owen, to speak to this item first.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Kowaczyk. So just reading from the report, the executive summary, initially, the Victorian Government Growing Suburbs Fund, GSF, 2022-23 is currently open for grant applications. This report presents the projects which are recommended for submission for funding in priority order. Council officers will submit the grant applications in July, with the outcome expected to be known in September 2022. So we know the GSF program has been very successful for Cardinia, and we thank the state government for their support over many years. But so the 2022-23 program supports projects such as community health and wellbeing, early education, libraries, learning and training, sport, recreation and leisure facilities that have dedicated community spaces, and support multi-use purposes, environment, climate change, resilience, placemaking and purpose-built facilities that responds to the needs of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities. So with that in mind, tonight's resolution is hoping to endorse the GSF applications of the following. So the 3 projects are all very important, and a number of these projects have been long-standing. So the first one is the IYU Recreation Reserve Regional Athletics. We're applying for $3.75 million. Obviously, that brings forward the construction of the pavilion associated with the new regional athletics facilities. Also, the second one is the Upper Beaconsfield Community Sport and Scout Facility. Council is applying through this grant fund application, if this resolution is passed, $3.35 million. This is such an important facility for the Upper Beaconsfield community. The current facilities at the Rec Reserve here are over 40 years old, are very tired, and it is Upper Beaconsfield's turn for improvements to community spaces. So I'm pleased that Council is nominating this as a project for this grant funding. And finally, the PB Ronald Reserve Public Toilet Redevelopment. We're applying for $400,000 under this grant program. So in total, Council is applying for $7.5 million. I think all these 3 projects are well worthy, and I fully support them progressing to this grant process. And I look forward to my council colleagues' comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Owen. I'll now go to Councillor Kowaczyk to speak to this item next.
Thanks, Mayor Springfield. I support the recommended projects on the list, but in particular, I'm really happy that the PB Ronald Reserve public toilet redevelopment is in there. It's a much needed and long overdue project. Even though our application to the GSF funding comes from a public toilet strategy perspective, should we be successful with this application, it'll actually represent the first major works on the ground from the PB Ronald Reserve Master Plan, while the detailed design is still ongoing. So that's really exciting that should we get this funding, that'll be the first major works on the ground of that master plan. So that's really, really good to see. Councillor Owen mentioned the IYU Rec Reserve Regional Athletics Facility Pavilion project. That's actually a user group suggestion, which is really fantastic because it's an example of our user groups communicating with council and that resulting in advocacy on their behalf. So I'm really proud of that project. I know Councillor Ross keeps a close eye on that one, so I'm really hopeful that one is supported too. And there's also the Upper Beaconsfield Community Sport and Scout Facility. Now, as the report details, this site is located on Crown land and is managed by a DELWP-appointed Community Committee of Management. So given that council doesn't own the land, I'd really like to see support from other levels of government for this redevelopment. And as such, it's appropriate for this GSF application. Just because we don't own the land doesn't mean the facility is not needed. So this is a perfect avenue to be applying for this sort of funding. And I really hope we're successful with these three projects. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Kowalczyk. Any other councillors like to speak to this item? And I know Councillor Ross has his hand up. You next, Councillor Ross.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Owen, for withdrawing this item. This is a wonderful scheme, the Growing Suburbs Fund. Without the Growing Suburbs Fund, rate capping would almost be unaffordable because you just couldn't be able to build the infrastructure that's needed. We've been provided with, I think this is probably the something like the 5th or 6th year that we've had the Growing Suburbs Fund come into effect, or even more. And we've literally benefited from tens of millions of dollars coming in, which allows us to build projects much earlier. Some of the projects raised today have been waiting a long, long time for the opportunity to come. If anyone's been down to the old Pakenham Athletics track, I think it's probably been there for 40 years or longer. The facilities that they had were second to none in being the poorest in the Shire, particularly the toilets. If anyone went in there, it was really just a little storage hut. For them, this is a long time coming. And this facility, if supported by the Growing Suburbs Fund, is going to allow schools and different areas not to have to go all the way to Cranbourne or closer to Melbourne for a synthetic track that will be built. They'll be able to come much closer, and our athletics club will thrive. Juniors, seniors, little ass, even our Pakenham Park runners and different groups will be able to use this facility. I must say the other things like Upper Beaconsfield is urgently needed, and the BP Ronald Reserve with an upgrade to the toilet block, which at the moment relies upon Outlook or the library to be open for people to go over there and use them, is much, much needed. I must say one of the really good things about being in a growing area is we generally get a full amount for our grants, which is excellent for the people of Cardinia Shire. Since I've been on council, 5 to 6 families a day or 4 to 5 families a day moving in for the last, I think, 12 years. Some of the other councils closer to Melbourne, I know Monash Council, they only get half the money that they ask for. So often they don't even get enough money to build their projects. I look forward to this coming through. There's many projects in all the different wards that have benefited from this. Some people often think that having a population growth can be counterproductive, but often too it can allow you to have more money to build more things and more new things to benefit the community. Anyway, I hope my fellow councillors support these projects, and I hope we get the needed money to come forward so then we can go ahead and build them on plan during our budget rather than have to wait. Anyway, thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Owen, and thank you, Councillor Kowalczyk, for supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. I will now go to Councillor Ryan to speak next.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. I'm not going to go into too much detail because all our councillors have. Thank you, Councillor Owen, for presenting this. I think there each project is really, really important in each area, and all of these projects have been a long time coming. But I'm only going to mention about the PB Ronald, because those toilets have been there since I played netball. So we're talking right back in 1981, I think they were built then. Before that, netballers didn't have toilets close. They had to run across over the other side to where living and learning is. It used to be the squash courts and the basketball courts. So it was kind of a quick dash for everybody to run. So the history of that is really important, and the toilets are still in use. We have had some problems up and down with blockage of people blocking the toilets, and the rest of our community has had trouble using them. But our staff have been very quickly on the ball to get those fixed straight away, so that our community can use them, because our reserve is used quite a lot from a lot of our community, and they much enjoy everything that PB Ronald has got to offer. The toilets themselves, the paintings on the toilets are Indigenous paintings, so I'm a little bit concerned about what's going to happen to that, and are we going to improve that with more Indigenous painting in and around that area. So, but I'm in all for support of this if it goes through, and I think any project that's under the Growing Suburbs Fund is always good projects to advocate for and support. So so I'll leave it at that. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. Would any other councillors like to speak to this item? There being none, I'll just voice my support for all three projects. I think they're fabulous projects spread across our Shire to a degree, and well noted. They've been all on the agenda for many years, and I can't, I have my full support personally behind all three of them also. I'll now go to Councillor Owen to summarise.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you all councillors for your contribution and really detailing the history of these projects and the need for these very vital upgrades. So Cardinia Shire Council is eligible to receive up to $7.5 million under the fund, which is 15% of the total $50 million funding pool from the state government. So that's exactly the amount that we've applied for, 7.5 for these three projects. The two projects in Pakenham have been well covered by other councillors, but I just wanted to talk a little bit more about Upper Beaconsfield. As I said, there's a real feeling amongst Upper Beaconsfield residents at the moment that it's their turn for improved community facilities, and this application will help go towards that. Council has recently undertaken a consultation of the community of Upper Beaconsfield about this project, and there was strong support for these much needed upgrades. This upgrade at Upper Beaconsfield covers a long range of community users and user groups, and that's really a requirement for the GSF funding as well. So we've got cricket, junior football, scouts, 2 equestrian clubs at Upper Beaconsfield Rec Reserve. Also the component and the possibility regarding emergency relief and recovery, providing those open space, those public spaces and community buildings for those such things as fire or storm emergency recovery led community initiatives. So also the kindergartens nearby, and also the adjacent Beaconsfield Upper Primary School has a strong interest in this project. So there has this project, if it gets legs, will have a strong community usage. As stated by Councillor Kowalczyk, this is on Crown land, and we need all levels of government to commit to this project. So local government, council is committed in our forward budgets towards this project. State government, if we get this Growing Suburbs Fund, will do that, and also the federal level. Council, if successful in this grant application, I believe will look at the Building Better Regions funding through the federal government. Upper Beaconsfield is a region, is part of that scope and is eligible for that. So I'm hoping in the future council will apply for that federal government grant. So, but it is important that all three levels of government really commit to Upper Beaconsfield. So I support these three applications going forward, and I want to thank the officers. They've done a lot of work in preparing these applications. So thank you to them. But I move the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Owen. Councillors, we'll now put this to a vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. I declare that item carried. Thank you. Moving along, item 6.2.4, alternate member Audit and Risk Committee, withdrawn by Councillor Radford. Councillor Radford to move.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I'd like to move the officer's recommendation, which is that Council appoint the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Tammy Radford, to be an alternate member of the Audit and Risk Committee whilst Councillor Davies is undertaking parental leave. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Radford. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Davies. I'll now go back to Councillor Radford to speak to this item first.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Davies, for your second. So, yeah, this is just a piece of paper, tick on the box sort of thing. Councillor Davies was appointed as a member of the Audit and Risk Committee at the Statutory Council meeting held in November 2021. As we all know, Councillor Davies has just recently had a baby, and I must commend Councillor Davies on the hard work that you're continuing to do as a councillor, which includes attending council meetings. But Councillor Davies has advised that coming up in August, she'll be unable to attend. So to ensure that the committee has a full complement of members, it is recommended to appoint somebody, and I was more than happy to put my hand up for this role and just to fill in for Councillor Davies and be an alternate member until she can attend that meeting again. That's all for now. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councillor Radford. I'll go to the seconder now, Councillor Davies, to speak to this item.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Radford, for withdrawing this item and filling in for me. I really appreciate that. I think one of the privileges and opportunities we have on council, and I'm lucky because I took over Councillor Owen, who was doing it last year, is working on this committee, getting to understand the council business, where's the money going, where's the risks. So I hope you enjoy the experience, and wanted to wish you all the best and say thank you for taking it on. And Council, I do hope that we can vote in support for this tonight. It just takes the pressure off me, and by having someone else attend, at least for the first 6 months or so, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. Would anyone else like to speak to this item? Councillor Kawasi.
Thanks, Mayor. Thanks, Councillor Radford, for bringing this up. For those who don't know, the Audit and Risk Committee is comprised of independent members and also 2 councillor members. So it's really important, while Councillor Davies is away, that there's someone else to come along to these meetings with me to keep me company and keep me in the loop. The Audit and Risk Committee supports council in various different ways, helps it discharge its oversight responsibilities related to financial and performance reporting, which is what our upcoming meeting in August will be centred around, as well as risk management, fraud prevention. It goes on. So from my perspective, this is a straightforward piece of business, and I'm happy to second Councillor Radford's nomination to the Audit and Risk Committee while Councillor Davies is unavailable. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Kawasi. Would any other councillors like to speak to this item? There being none, I will go back to the mover, Councillor Radford, to summarise.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Davies and Councillor Kawasi. Thank you for giving us a little bit of information on what this Audit and Risk Committee does. I appreciate that, and I look forward to attending with you in the future as well. So in conclusion, it's just appropriate to appoint an alternate councillor member to the Audit and Risk Committee whilst Councillor Davies is unable to attend the meeting. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Councillor Radford. Councillors, we will now put this to a vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. I declare that item carried. Thank you. Moving along, the next item is item 6.2.5, Deputy Mayor, withdrawn by Councillor Ryan. Councillor Ryan, the move.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Item 6.2.5, Deputy Mayor. A notice of motion 1074 was lodged by me, was adopted at the June council meeting. This notice of motion read that council creates a report on the deputy mayor role in and other 79 Victorian councils. The report also shall issue that they, in their statistics of whether a council has or doesn't have a deputy mayor position at present. If they don't have a deputy mayor, did they ever have one? And if discontinued, when did that cease to have one? I'll leave it at there, Mayor.
Look, thank you, Councillor Ryan, and I appreciate that was the notice of motion from last time, which led to this. But I think for this item, I think we need to just read the recommendation.
Just read the rest. Okay.
Right. Just read the recommendation, because we need a seconder for it first for it to proceed, and then we can discuss the item further. But first, I just need to actually hear the item that you're moving, the recommendation that you're moving for item 6.2.5.
Okay, the recommendation that council note the response to notice of motion 1074 that of the 79 councils in Victoria, 72 currently appointed a deputy mayor. Do you want me to go further or leave it at that until?
You can just
reading?
move the officer's recommendation, or you can read the whole thing. It's up to you, Councillor.
I'll read the whole thing, and then it's kept short. I don't like sort of leaving it too long. 5 councils do not appoint a deputy mayor and have never had the practice of appointing a deputy mayor. In addition, 2 councils currently are under administration. These 2 councils, when they have been elected in council, had previously appointed a deputy mayor. The report responds to this notice of motion. Following adoption of the notice of motion 1074, council staff researched the details available on Know Your Council website, obtained details from all councils in Victoria regarding the position of deputy mayor. This research has revealed that 72 councils recently appointed a deputy mayor.
Look, thank you, Councillor Ryan, and we'll just note that your first recommendation of what you've moved for this, and I'm just going to ask for a seconder, please, for the recommendation that Councillor Ryan previously moved. Councillor Davies, thank you. I'll now go back to the mover of this item, 6.2.5. Councillor Ryan, to speak to this item at your leisure, please. Thank you.
Okay, so the position of what was requested is that there had been many conversations with residents, and they were just interested in what's happening in and around Victoria and other councils and what they appoint and what we appoint. And under the Local Government Act 2020, it states clearly what the duties are of a deputy mayor's role, and that they must perform the role of the mayor and exercise any of the powers of the mayor. The mayor is unable to, at any reason, to attend a council meeting or part of a council meeting, is incapacitated of performing the duties of the office of mayor for any reason, including illness or vacating the office. So that was the question that had been asked by many residents. So 2 of the councils that, as I read before, do have a deputy mayor when they're in office, but at the moment, Casey Council and Whittlesea Council are the 2 councils that are under administration at the moment. The position of the deputy mayor was introduced by the local government, states that a council may establish an office of deputy mayor, and pretty much it's just saying that out of 79 council, 72 have deputy mayors, and the other 5 don't and didn't have deputy mayors, and 2 are not in action at the moment because they're under administration. So that's the result of the report that came back.
Great. Thank you, Councillor Ryan. I'll now go to the seconder, Councillor Davies, to speak to this item next.
Thank you, Mayor. If I may reserve my right to speak, please.
Of course you may, Councillor Davies. Thank you. I'll now open this up to the floor. If any other councillors would like to speak to this item, please raise your hand. Councillor Moore, I see you first.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to add just one small point to this this item. It's not much because it's already been detailed very well by Councillor Ryan. It's the councils that aren't on in administration. They are very small councils generally. If you look at the list, and so generally they would not have the need for a deputy mayor under that circumstances. So therefore, that's the main reason for it. That's all. That's the only point I want to make, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. I'll go to Councillor Kowalczyk next. Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor. Thanks to Councillor Ryan for this one. I just wanted to put forward my support for the role of Deputy Mayor in general at Cardinia Shire Council. As we know, it's currently held by Councillor Radford, who I think I can say is doing a fantastic job, but it's been held by many councillors in the past, and it is a very important function at Cardinia, and not just Cardinia, as the report details, the overwhelming majority of councillors in Victoria. So I just wanted to voice my support for the role and also for our current Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Mayor Springfield.
Thank you, Councillor Kowalczyk. Would any other councillors like to speak to this item? There being none, I might just add a couple of words and to say that it is interesting to note that yes, there's only 5 councils across the 79 councils of Victoria that do not currently have a deputy mayor or have never appointed a deputy mayor. And as Councillor Moore pointed out, they are all small rural councils. So there is every metropolitan council, which we are considered one of them, and especially now as we're a category 3 council. Yes, they all have deputy mayors and have had for some time. So just to note, and I support Councillor Kowalczyk's word, which is very important. Councillor Radford does a fantastic job, and I'm very pleased with the work I've had from her in the past and previously. Councillor Moore did a fantastic job when I was mayor last time, and he was the deputy mayor. So very appreciative of all involved. Before I go back to the mover, I'll now go back to the seconder who reserved the right to speak until the end. So Councillor Davies, would you like to add anything to this conversation?
Yeah, thank you. I would like to add something, if I may, Mayor Springfield. So I'll just say, okay, so this was Councillor Ryan's first notice of motion. She was seeking to understand how many councils have deputy mayors, and whilst I didn't support the notice of motion, just as it was what I thought not the correct avenue to seek the information, I do absolutely support Councillor Ryan, who is working very hard to evolve and grow in her role as a community representative. And as she said, the mayor and deputy mayor roles are written into the Local Government Act, and less than 10 of the councils don't have a deputy mayor, and any council the size of Cardinia and with the scope of work that we have certainly does have one. Many councils that are much smaller have a deputy mayor. Echoing the support by Councillor Kowalczyk, I also support this role and it's staying at Cardinia, and that's what this report says. It's very appropriate for us to have a deputy mayor. Now echoing the mayor, I also want to thank my fellow councillors who have done the role in the past. Councillor Owen, Springfield, Ross and Moore all have a wealth of experience, and I can only imagine it's been a role where you've been able to build a little bit upon the councillor, the amazing opportunity we get as councillors to actually sort of elevate that and look after your community. I just want to echo also the mayor who said Councillor Radford does a fantastic job. She sure does. And this week in particular with the mayor who was very busy with family commitments, Councillor Radford stepped up and had a lot to do, and that she did really well. So at the end of the day, I guess we do need to be conscious that, you know, deputy mayors do get paid a little bit more than a councillor. You know, are we getting value out of it? And I'm really confident we are. So, and yeah, as I said, I'll hand it back to Councillor Ryan, but who I actively support, who is trying to grow in her capacity and said, you know what, I'm going to lift and look into this and do something strategically for the benefit of council. So thank you all. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. I'll now go back to the mover, Councillor Ryan, to summarise.
Thank you, Mayor. Just from the Act that it does indicate too that with smaller environments, again, it goes on the numbers, and if the areas get bigger, then they would invest in the possibility of having deputy mayors. The reason behind this was not only just because of residents, they brought it to my attention, but I thought it was something that we could be interested in finding out about in and around Victoria and what we do have and what they have within their council and how it operates. So it's about, you know, how do they utilise their deputy mayors? How do we utilise ours? This wasn't about personal investment in anyone in particular on this council. It was about finding out information, and this may be the first motion that I've put through this year, but I do have experience of nearly 6 years in council. So thank you, Councillor Davies, for your support, and thank you, Councillor Kowaczyk and Councillor Moore, for putting your hand up and adding to this. I think it's just something that, you know, we need to research and do other things on other councils and seeing what they're doing. We are a great council. We are working hard, all of us, but we need to work together as a communal council so that we can achieve a lot more than maybe we think we can achieve, and that's really where we are on the ladder as far as councils go. I wanted to see, you know, exactly what result came back, and I wasn't surprised at how many councils didn't have deputy mayors. And as I said, it's because of the size of them, and we all are aware of that. But I think too, one councillor, if we're going to mention any councillors being deputy mayors, Councillor Ross was a deputy mayor as well, and he wasn't mentioned. And I think everyone who takes those positions up does a great job, no matter who it is. And I think, you know, we need to keep it less personal and just about the job. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. And just to note, Councillor Davies did mention Councillor Ross amongst all the current members of that had performed the role of deputy mayor that are on this current council. But she did mention everyone, is my understanding, but Councillor Ross was certainly mentioned. So,
sorry, Mayor, I didn't hear that. Sorry, Councillor Davies, I apologise.
That's okay. Look, moving forward, we'll now put this to a vote, councillors. And all councillors in favour, please raise your hands. I declare the item carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Moving forward, item 6.2.6, the 2022-2023 Festival and Events Grants applications withdrawn by Councillor Radford. Councillor Radford to move.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I'd like to move the officer's recommendation, which is that Council approve 48 applications under the Festival and Events Grant Program to the value of $230,595.58. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Radford, and I note Councillor Ross as seconder. I'll go back to you as the mover, Councillor Radford, to speak to this item first.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Ross, for your second. Council and Festival Events Program seeks to support a diverse mix of events that bring the community together and improve the health and wellbeing outcomes. So it's a really important grants funding program, and I applaud all the community organisations that have applied for this and their commitment to our community and creating events and activities that encourage social inclusion and connection. And we need that more than ever at the moment. So it was really pleasing to see that 48 applications to the value of $230,595.58 has been recommended and hopefully endorsed as of tonight. So this did include 18 applications that were previously approved in 2020 to 2021. That's too many 20s, and 2021 to 2022 grant programs. But due to COVID, these events and activities were cancelled. So they've been carried over. And all these applicants, they didn't have to fill out a whole form again. They just had to provide updated event details. So that was really good. So I'm very happy that Council did a very comprehensive communication plan, which was undertaken and widely promoted through various newsletters and distribution channels, which included community leaders, Council's website and Facebook pages, Connect, and through the Councillor Bulletin. So Council worked very hard on getting this opportunity out there to all community organisations across the Shire. This grant round was opened via Smarty Grants on the 8th of February 2022 and then closed on the 31st of March 2022. So following final endorsement at this council meeting, applicants will then be advised of the outcome via a letter of offer through Smarty Grants. I'll go to my seconder now. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Radford. I'll now go to Councillor Ross to speak to this item next.
Thank you, Councillor Radford. I must say this is one of the most exciting parts on council that has really formed its way in the last 20 years on council. We only used to have our regular events, which were really highlighted in the area. We had our shows, we had Yakaboo, and we had some of these events, which have been the highlight and the backbone of our community in Cardinia Shire. With the community grant scheme, it gives other events and people who have moved into our area opportunities to celebrate their festive season, and they share that with the Shire. I heard the other day that we have the 5th most diverse in cultural different cultures in all of the councils in Australia, the 5th most diverse with different cultures. And I think we have something like 68 different languages spoken in Cardinia Shire now, and that's gone a long way in the last 20 years. But with that comes a whole lot of colour, a whole lot of passion, and a whole lot of people who come along who want to share the excitement of being an Australian and bringing some of their culture with them. And many of the events and the grants that we give out go to promote these different cultural events that are held locally, which have brought a real colour to our community. It is so good that we're a council who commits ourselves to spend so much money on community grants. Many other councils don't do this. They don't have this grant scheme. You either survive on your own and you promote it and you pay for it, whereas we work with our community groups and try and encourage them to put things on. Naturally, we would like them to go off the seeding grant initially, if they can afford to, and run them out of their own funding. But I must say, this makes it possible for groups to have a go to get out there and start it off and become popular. I look forward to the season. It's been really sad over the last couple of years where we haven't been able to get out and go to many of these functions, which people put so much time and effort. I know Councillor Moore's been a really big part of the Yakaboo and that sort of thing. He's actually Mr. Yakaboo, and he usually wears the clown suit there. But I must say, it brings a real colour to our community, a real excitement about Cardinia Shire, and I think it really paints us out to be the wonderful Shire that we are. So anyway, I support these, and I'd encourage other community groups that run their different functions and festivals and events to come forward and speak to our officers in relation to these grants, because they are really good. It is really great money spent, and I encourage them to come forward. So I hope my fellow councillors support this, and I hope next year to see more people put in, now that things are up and going again. Well, hopefully they're up and going again, that we can see so many more events be celebrated within Cardinia Shire. Thank you, Councillor Radford, for raising this, Deputy Mayor. and I look forward to listening to other people share about this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. Would any other councillors like to speak to this item? Councillor Moore, I'll go to you.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Radford, for withdrawing this, and Councillor Ross for the second. I don't know what to say, Councillor Ross, with your statements about the Yakaboo thing. I'll take it as a compliment. I think I shall. But it's really.
It was meant as a compliment, Councillor Moore. Sorry. I was meant to be praising you, saying the amount of hard work that you've put in is second to none. Anyway.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. I appreciate your accolades for me. But yes, I am a big promoter of the Yakaboo Festival, and I want to see some of these festivals get back out in a full flight. They've only been half used these days, and that's where it's not as festive as we're used to seeing, particularly in our Pakenham region and district areas. But and in this economic climate, of course, it's a difficult thing to run these festivals under the circumstances, and it's really great to have us councillors promoting the funding for these hard-working committees. It's hard enough to get a committee to run these festivals, let alone when they're trying to get funding from all different avenues, and it just doesn't come. So it's I'm proud of the fact that us as councillors and this council has promoted these festival grants over the many years, as stated by Councillor Radford and Ross. And I know that there are other councils that only have it 1 year. They have a 1 year of festival seating grant, as mentioned by Councillor Ross, and then you're on your own. And in this climate, you wouldn't survive under the circumstances. So to have these grants available to these hardwood committees is I'm proud to be involved with. But thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Would any other councillors like to speak to this item? There being none, just a couple of quick words to say. It's again is another fantastic grant process that we have, a funding stream that goes across the breadth of our Shire. And really, festivals and events help to deliver community that draw together, especially in these troubled times. And we've heard mention of of events that have been held over for the last 2 years due to COVID and the implications of this pandemic. So more than ever, we need to see events and festivals get off the ground, bring community together, supporting each other and loving each other. And this is what we're all about here in Cardinia Shire Council, is community looking after each other. So very much supportive of this, and very much supportive of the interest in this festival and events grant stream into the future, and encourage everyone to apply for it and come up with new and wonderful ideas to help connect our communities together through festivals and events. I'll now go to the mover, Councillor Radford, to summarise. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Ross and Councillor Moore and Councillor Springfield for your words in supporting this. And it's important to note that there was a variety of staff from council who assessed all the applications. These were coming from departments which included actives, reserves, arts and culture, passive reserves, traffic management, community development, cultural diversity and risk, and health and safety. And I'd also like to give a huge thanks out to the council officers for supporting the organisations with their applications. I know firsthand, before becoming a councillor, when I applied for a grant, the support from council officers to ensure that I had filled out everything correctly, so that there was, that wasn't a reason for me for the grant not to be supported, was the assistance was second to none. And I know that still continues with each and every other application that gets put in. I'd also 100% agree with Councillor Ross regarding the culturally diverse events that we now have across our Shire. A lot of these are just very small community organisations with not a lot of funding streams, so it's fantastic that council can support these. It's also great learning curve. Attending these culturally diverse events that I've never had the opportunity to attend before has just been fantastic. So I really support all types of events and activities throughout our Shire, not just in the growth area. It is important in the growth area, but I love that this goes out right out, up to Emerald, down to Lang Lang. It goes out to everywhere. So in conclusion, I would like to, I'm seeking support for the officer's recommendation, which is to fully support funding of 48 festival and events grant applications to the value of $230,595.58. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bradford. I will now put this to a vote. All councillors in favour, please raise your hands. I declare that item carried. Thank you. Moving along to the next item on the agenda is item 6.4.2, Tender Award Contract 22-020 Bunyip Soccer Fields Reconstruction, withdrawn by Councillor Moore. Councillor Moore to move.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that Council award the tender submitted by Evergreen Turf Proprietary Limited for the sum of $1,429,997.54 be accepted for contract 22-020, the Bunyip Soccer Field Reconstruction. The remaining contractors to be advised accordingly, and the common seal of the council be affixed to the contract's documents. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Ryan. I'll go back to the mover, Councillor Moore, to speak first.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan, for your second. With my other hat on, I'll go on to the this item. I'm delighted with this for a starter. This is just what a great result this will be if it gets through tonight, and I ask my fellow councillors to support this issue. These proposed works will see the implementation of the master plan of the Bunyip Recreation Reserve that come to life. It's been a long time coming. The reserve is home to the Bunyip Soccer Club, and what a club they are. Very strong club and a very great committee. With the proposed works to include a new senior pitch and a junior pitch, as well as new drainage and a quality turf surface, which will allow the club to remain and increase its current participation, which is fantastic to see it stronger than what it is. The footprint of the new sports field will be larger than the current sports field to accommodate the full-size sporting pitch and the junior pitch, as I said before. And the field will also accommodate a cricket wicket with a 50-metre radius playing surface, which is a double up as well. The proposed works will also include new LED lighting, water tanks with new irrigation, portable soccer goals, fencing, a high-quality couch grass that will provide better wear, allowing more games and more training, an additional landscaping to provide improved connections to the new pavilion, the beautiful new pavilion, that's got soccer field. Council officers carried out a public tender process for the proposed works, with a total of 5 submissions received, and provided a report detailing a recommendation for the contract award. It is recommended to Council that a contract be awarded to the highest quality and the lowest price tender submission provided by Evergreen Turf, as I said, at a value of $1,429,997.54. I'll leave it to my seconder there at the moment, Mayor, if Councillor Ryan would like to add a few things in here.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. I'll now go to Councillor Ryan to speak to this item next.
I'm just going to reserve my right to speak at the moment, Mayor, on this matter.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. Would anyone else like to speak to this item? Councillor Ross.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Moore. I must say this is another thing that I'm extremely proud of in Cardinia Shire. I believe we've got the best sports grounds of any shire in Australia. I defy anybody to go to better sports grounds than the ones that we've got made or have just recently made. And I must say, Evergreen, I'm reasonably sure Evergreen grow their grass in Cardinia Shire as well. So therefore, we're not only putting in the best grass in our fields, it's homegrown in our shire. So that's a really, really good thing that the money's going locally, the $1 million to supporting a business locally. And I must say they provide an absolutely wonderful surface. No one will be disappointed. And I must say it's even better than our neighbour Casey. Anyone who's played over at Casey Fields, their ovals, in the past, we've actually had one stage where their ovals weren't up to scratch and they had to bring their football games over to Cardinia Shire to play their games over here, particularly for their finals. So I must say what we do here is great. I look forward to hearing from Councillor Moore about when it's installed and how happy they are with the result that they get. Anyway, thank you, Mayor. I'm a bit parochial for ourselves. Bye.
Thank you, Councillor Ross, and hopefully we don't start a competition there with Casey, but perhaps competition's good and everyone brings up all their sporting fields to the best possible standard, and we can have a fight in the southeast for who owns the best. That's great, Councillor Ross. Would any other councillors like to speak to this item? There being none, I'll now return to the second to Councillor Ryan to speak to this item if she would like to.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor, I'm not going to say too much. Thank you, Councillor Moore, for presenting this. I know you're very passionate about what's happening out there and what's needed and a long time coming. Councillor Ross, yes, I have to totally agree here that we do have the best grounds and facilities in and around Cardinia Shire, and people are wanting to come out this way because we've got a lot to offer. And I think going further out down Councillor Moore's ward, I think it's really important that we keep up the standard no matter how close to the CBD or how much further out they are, because all areas need to be upgraded and up to a standard. With the couch grass, I know it grows really, really quickly, but it can get out of hand. But with experts doing it and whoever is the one that will take on this this job will do a fantastic job as usual. The lighting and the fencing, and I think the soccer field is a long time coming as well. And you're going to have more and more teams wanting to participate down there if this goes through. So I'm in total support of this, Councillor Moore, and I hope that it does get up and running. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. I'll now go back to Councillor Moore to summarise on this item. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Ryan, seconder, and of course, Councillor Ross, for your positive comments, and I really appreciate your positive thoughts on this. Look, you've got to acknowledge Cardinia Shire in their support for diverse sports, not just AFL. There are other sports involved, and I must acknowledge that, particularly in the soccer fields here, they really put a lot of funding into those other sports as well as, so particularly this Bunyip Strikers Club at Bunyip, and I think it's been really great. So to have these grounds, these new sporting fields to go along with the beautiful pavilion there as well, as it all goes hand in hand. But I just want to notice that the total budget for this project is $1,592,476.60. Now, $500,000 of that funding is from the Sports and Rec Victoria that's gone in towards this, and the remaining funds is from in the council budget. And the other side of it is the construction's expected to begin on the 1st of September 22. So I'm looking forward to this to be started this year in September. That we have a few issues, but the challenges are going to be is the off-leash dog areas in these reserves. What are we going to do in these circumstances? We have a few problems with these reserves and off-leash dog areas. And so we have to, these will have to be addressed as acknowledged by the clubs there as well. And I've got to tell you, Councillor Ross, yes, Evergreen is in Cardinia Shire. It's in actually Westernport ward is where it is, in where they are in McGregor Road. So we're keeping it local, which makes it a double hit. And I think, Councillor Ross, would you like to mention? Sorry, Mayor.
If I can indulge, Mr. Mayor.
Is that a point of order you're raising?
I was just asking Councillor Moore whether Pommy's still the president down there.
We're at the club, the soccer club.
Yep.
Martin Jerrick is the president.
Must be a different guy. Anyway,
president,
thank you.
But Adrian
Yep.
Gatti was the president prior to, and they're both have done a fantastic job.
Thank you, Mayor, for letting me indulge.
Okay, and I was going to mention the club, these drivers of our community and getting involved and keeping this thing moving with the young people, particularly with the junior ground as well as. So I hope I get my support from my fellow councillors here because I think this is going to be a great thing to look at for many, many years to come, and support of our local community, particularly down in the Bunyip area. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Moore, and we'll now put this to a vote. Councillors, all those in favour, please raise your hands. I declare that item carried. Thank you. Moving along to the next item, 6.5.1, Community Engagement Update, withdrawn by Councillor Radford. Councillor Radford to move.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I just wanted to move the officer's recommendation, which is that Council notes the community engagement activities being undertaken this month. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Radford. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Davies. I'll go back to Councillor Radford to speak to this item first.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Davies, for your second. Just a quick background on what community engagement is. It is a process whereby council uses a variety of methods to proactively seek out information and feedback from the community, including their values, concerns, ideas and aspirations. And where possible and when required by legislation, council will include the community in the development and delivery of identified initiatives and projects. So I strongly believe that community engagement is so very important, and I've been really happy with the level of community engagement that has been undertaken. And just to highlight this month's, which is in the pack, there's 3 that have already just closed, but there was the Active Cardinia Strategy, East Stone Reserve Public Toilet Petition, and Sealing the Hills Special Charge Scheme. So these have all just recently been closed, and currently open is the Emerald Lake Precinct Master Plan and the Hard Waste Service Satisfaction Survey. So a majority of these are available for residents to give their feedback and ideas via Cardinia Shire's website, and I've been very happy with the way that Cardinia Shire advertises those engagement opportunities through organisations, via us councillors, and on the Facebook site, and I've even seen them published in the Gazette. And I would like to thank all council officers involved with this community engagement and the way that they have conducted these, and thank all community members who have participated, as these engagements, your feedback does assist council in the delivery of our council plan action. So thank you for taking the time to participate. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bradford. I'll now go to the seconder, Councillor Davies, to speak to this item.
Thank you, Mayor. May I please withdraw my right to speak? Thanks.
Yes, you may withdraw your right, or you may reserve your right, whichever you like. But I'll check in.
Reserve, please. Sorry, wrong word.
Sorry. Councillors, would any other councillors like to speak to this item? I know Councillor Owen.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Radford. I just want to talk about the road Sealing the Hills Special Charge Scheme consultation. That was there was an evening on the 29th of June. It was really well attended. I was there for an hour, but well attended by council officers, various council officers regarding these special charge schemes. It was focused around the Upper Beaconsfield roads. I think everyone in Lenny Street turned up. That was a very popular street for people to come forward. So it was great to hear from those residents, but it was a great opportunity for residents to ask direct questions to engineers about special charge schemes, about designs. Definitely there was a number of questions and proposals put forward, and which engineers took on board. But it was a really great opportunity. So I do encourage residents. Obviously, there's, other than just turning up on the evening on the 29th, obviously community members can respond by survey, either in written form or online. But this was an opportunity for members and residents, to directly liaise with council officers, and it was a really great consultation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Owen. Would any other councillors like to speak to this item? Councillor Kowalczyk.
Thanks, Mayor Springfield. Thanks, Councillor Radford, for withdrawing this item. And I'll keep it brief. I just want to mention the Eastone Reserve Public Toilet petition because it's mentioned in the report. That's a petition that was brought to me from the community a little while ago, and I just want to commend our communications team within council for the engagement on the back of that. So obviously there was a number of things done online and a number of opportunities for community members to get in touch with council and let us know how they feel about Eastone Reserve. But one of the things that was a little bit different this time, which I thought was good, was to have the on-site signage that would link you via a QR code directly into the feedback, because then when you're there using the facility and you're actively taking part in it, I would think more inclined to give that feedback. So I think that's a fantastic initiative. And obviously we as a council rely heavily on community feedback to sort of guide us in the direction we take with a number of these decisions. So I think it's very important. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Kowalczyk. Would any other councillors like to speak to this item? I might just say a couple of quick words then, and again, just highlight the Emerald Lake Precinct Master Plan. I encourage all community members out there with an interest in Emerald Lake Precinct to jump online, have a look at the master plan, provide your feedback. It is such a huge and important asset that we have for Cardinia Shire, and it is based in Emerald where I live, but it is utilised by people far and wide and beyond the borders of Cardinia Shire even. It is well attended by many people. We've seen a lot of great infrastructure upgrades there via Puff and Billy for the car parking and the new Discovery Centre. And this master plan will really help dictate how we're going to roll out the rest of our infrastructure implementation over the coming years to really see this park and this precinct harnessed to its best ability for our community, as well as our visitor community that comes up to enjoy the treasures that we have in Cardinia Shire. So please, I encourage all members of the community to get on board and have a look at this. It's really good to see this coming to light. Before I go back to the mover to summarise, I'll go back to Councillor Davies to see if she would like to add any comments to this.
Thank you, Mayor. I will just speak briefly. Thank you to Councillor Radford for withdrawing it and the rest of Council for their comments. I too do take a keen interest in community engagement, how Cardinia approaches it, and we do use numerous forums, but I will briefly mention the Creating Cardinia mini engagement website. If you go to the Cardinia Council website and you can just search for Cardinia Have Your Say, or if not, there's a very clear link, Creating Cardinia. We've got there's always a range of different projects and initiatives which council is consulting on. Like consultation happens all the time. Currently Emerald Lake Park is up there, and also a hard waste customer satisfaction survey. So I always encourage residents to use that, because that way, you know, your feedback, it's recorded, it's in the data, and it's a great way to ensure that, you know, you'll get your message and your request across. The majority of them also let you put in your details, so you can be actually responded to by the relevant council officers. Just to close, Cardinia Life was on the Creating Cardinia page. We had a massive community engagement process included different focus groups, online, face-to-face consultation. Council actually invested a fair bit of money in actually getting providers to actually go out there and meet with user groups. The responses are still being collated. This consultation was set up to really establish what the facility is going to provide. We really just had the parameter of this is the available space, tell us what you want. So I'm really looking forward to having a read of what their officer recommendations are for the scope of work for the project. This is really one example where I think community engagement was done fairly well. It's going to be a major investment, a facility that'll be a jewel in Cardinia's crown, and I do want to acknowledge that it's hard to get it perfect, but our policy is quite robust, and I'm very pleased with how recent consultation is going. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. I'll now go back to Councillor Radford to summarise.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Owen, Kowazik and Davies for your comments. And yeah, thanks for highlighting the website, Councillor Davies. I appreciate that. I was going to just briefly highlight the Hard Waste Service Satisfaction Survey. I have to note that quite often sometimes I'll be on Facebook and there'll be comments, reports, feedback. This does not go to council. So when there is a survey available and open, I encourage all residents to use that forum to provide that feedback, because this is really important. As I said before, your comments on these surveys and pop-up engagement sessions do help form our future policies and plans. So don't just report it on Facebook, get involved and fill out these surveys when they become available, because we really do want to hear from you and that your voice is really heard. So do it. So just to finish up, as I said, I was just moving the officer's recommendation that council notes this in community engagement activities being undertaken this month. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Radford, and councillors. We'll now put this to a vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. I declare that item carried. Thank you. Moving along to item 6.5.3, major projects report, withdrawn by Councillor Radford. Councillor Radford to move.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I have withdrawn the 6.5.3 major projects report and the officer's recommendation, which is that council note this report. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Kowazik. I'll go back to Councillor Radford to speak to this item first.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Kowazik. I just wanted to begin with what's at the beginning of this major projects report. Some residents have noticed that there have been some delays to a lot of infrastructure. So this report is within your pack here. You can find it online, but just briefly outlining that the construction industry continues to experience material supply and logistic impacts as an extended impact from COVID-19, as well as current unpredictable international market conditions, and project managers are working closely with contractors to minimise the impact this is having on the delivery of projects, as well as looking at initiatives to assist in fast-tracking construction where possible. So they've had issues with costs escalations, availability of materials and goods which have impacted on the project delivery timelines. Availability of contractors has also been an issue, and ongoing market impacts through non-competitive tender submissions, increasing financial risk. So I just wanted to begin this report with that, because I think it's important for the community to understand that council is doing everything possible that they can to continue delivering these really important major projects on time, but we are still experiencing some issues as a result of COVID. So today I just wanted to briefly outline Bayview Road. That's a common one in Officer Ward with the flooding. It didn't happen to flood this weekend with all that rain that we had, but it is an intersection which is currently unsignalised. but it will become a fully signalised crossroad with the southern leg of Bayview Road being constructed and connecting into the development to the southwest. Ultimately, the southern leg will connect to the Monash Freeway via the Officer South Road interchange. So that's going to be a major connector road, which will make a huge difference to people in this area getting to the freeway and cutting out a bit of that traffic on Princess Highway. So this is jointly funded by developer contributions and the Australian government, and the project is scheduled to be complete by the end of June 2023, which will be exciting. Civil works commenced in late June 2022, and locals will have noticed that there's a bit of stuff happening around doing underground works currently. So I'll move on to my seconder for the moment. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Radford. I'll move on to Councillor Kowalczyk as seconder. Thank you. Councillor Kowalczyk, I've got a feeling he's looking a little bit.
Thanks, Mayor. Thanks, Councillor Radford. I know I really enjoy providing updates.
Councillor Kowalczyk, I think we lost you there for a moment, so maybe you might like to start again.
I am
look like
probably
again.
That's okay.
All right, Councillor Kowalczyk, can you, or Chuck, let's try it again. Take your microphone off mute. You dropped out for a minute there, but let's try that again.
Mayor, I was just saying I'm happy to reserve my right to speak on this one.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you, Councillor.
That's fine.
We'll check back in with you later. Perfect. Would any other councillors like to speak to this item? Okay, there being none, then Councillor Kowalczyk, you will have the opportunity, a seconder, having reserved your right to speak now, if you like, before I go back to the mover to summarise.
Thanks, Mayor. How am I going now with my glitching?
I think we've got you. There was a little glitch at the start, but I think we've got you.
Okay, I'll push ahead, and if you don't hear me, that's okay. I have provided a bit of an update on Windermere Boulevard playground works before, but I've been getting more and more questions about it. So I just wanted to check back in with anyone who's watching. I know there's some frustration in the community with the length of time the works are taking. The new piece of equipment, the climbing cube, is additional funding that has been secured previously, separate from the replacement project. Residents will remember seeing the slide vandalised, meaning the original equipment had to be replaced. The timing of that vandalism has meant the playground has been unusable for longer than was originally planned, but I note that it is currently open. I can also confirm that Council has purchased a new play structure to replace the vandalised equipment, but there's a 16 to 20 week lead time from the manufacturer. So Council officers are planning for a November or December installation, provided it is delivered on time. Whilst the new equipment is being installed, the playground will need to be closed again, and officers will try to avoid this closure over the school holiday period. So I have provided that update before, but it is the #1 item on the list of residents in the Pakenham Hills ward. So I hope that keeps everyone happy. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Kowalczyk. I'll now go back to Councillor Bradford to summarise.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Kowalczyk, for continuing on strongly through all those glitches. Great job. So I'll just conclude with one of my other favourite ones that I get asked about, which is the Princess Highway South Side Shared Path and Bridges. The community is very, very happy to be seeing that the footpath from Beaconsfield to Arena is nearly done, but there's a bit of a section that we're still waiting on. So that's the part that goes over the bridge. So it was initially due to be completed in July, I think, this year, but it's now due to be completed in September. So this is due to a delay of with weather and contractor COVID-19 regulations. And so just a quick update, the construction of the shared path has been completed. 15-metre pedestrian bridge at Officer Creek has been installed. Gumscrug Creek Bridge contract has been awarded. Installation was expected in June. However, the bridge has been impacted by material shortages, which will now see the installation in September 2022 to complete the project. So just reassuring the community that Council is still on top of all these projects. And I'd like to thank Council for their continued efforts and commitment on still trying to deliver these projects in a timely manner, doing the best that they can. So I'd just like to move the officer's recommendation that Council note this report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Radford. Look, I'll just make a quick mention that Councillor Davies has notified me that she had to step away from her desk, so she's currently not present, but I will ask all other councillors present. It's now time to vote on this item, so all those in favour, please raise your hand. I declare that item carried. Thank you, councillors. That concludes discussion of the items withdrawn. Are there any matters listed in the agenda that any councillors may also wish to debate or discuss? If not, can I have a mover, please, to adopt the officer's recommendations for the remaining item? Councillor Moore, seconded by Councillor Ryan. Councillors, all those in favour, please raise your hands. I declare that carried. Thank you. We're moving along now to councillor reports. And councillors, are there any matters on which you would like to report? Please raise your hand. Okay, councillors, doesn't look like there's much on to report, which is totally fine. Councillor Kowalczyk, I note that your hand is raised. Please, you first.
Thanks, Mayor, and I hope I've sorted out the internet issue. I do apologise for that previously. Yeah, there's a couple of things going on. I'll leave some things. I just wanted to touch on, I had the opportunity to talk to this year's participants of the Cardinia Community Leadership Program about what leadership means to me and what my approach to it is, alongside Councillor Radford. And it was a really rewarding experience. Really grateful for that opportunity. And I'm excited to watch their progress as they go through the program. So well done to everyone involved with the Cardinia Community Leadership Program. I attended the Pakenham CBD and Railway Safety Precinct meeting, which I've done since its inception. I just want to recommend any shop owners or local businesses around the centre of Pakenham to attend. The meeting's chaired by Vic Pole, and it's a good chance to give feedback around what you're seeing in the middle of the town and how we can all play our part to make Pakenham safer. So that's a really important resource, I think, to shop owners in Pakenham CBD. Also attended the Cardinia Business Networking Breakfast event. We had former AFL player and mental health awareness advocate Wayne Schwass as the keynote speaker. It's a really, really well-run event. Congratulations to our Eco Dev team for bringing that together. It was nice to connect with local business leaders, but also to hear from Wayne Schwass, who is a really passionate, he's really knowledgeable about mental health, and his approach of self-awareness and self-improvement was really captivating. And I just want to end my report. Can you still hear me there, Mayor? Yeah, great. Thank you. I didn't know if I was talking into the Ethernet or not. I just want to end my report by, thank you, mate. I just want to end my report by wishing my youngest son, Franklin, a happy first birthday today. Very exciting for us. I also want to thank my wife, Sarah, for everything she does for me and for our kids. Obviously, having two babies in lockdown has been a bit full on, but being a councillor, as many of my colleagues would know, is something I'm very proud of, but can also be a bit of a selfish pursuit in a way, given the commitment required. And I wouldn't be able to do it without her support. So a big thank you to my family on a special day for us. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Kowalczyk. Would any other councillors like to speak on any matters they wish to report? Councillor Owen.
Thank you, Mayor. Also, thank you, Councillor Kowalczyk, for your comments about our families and our supporters. So thank you for that. That was really good. During the school holidays, we had some really good events across Cardinia. The Creatures event at the Cultural Centre, it was really, really great, particularly for young people. It was great to see the Cardinia Cultural Centre full with lots of people. after COVID. It's been struggling. So it's been great to see our arts community getting stronger back in this space, back into that facility. So well done to the council and all involved in that Creatures event. It was really, really good. I received a lot of positive comments from the community and also online, which was good to see. Also, during the second week of the school holidays, NAIDOC week, council held a very fantastic event down at Living Learning Pakenham. I saw Councillor Ryan there as well. It was a really well-attended event, over 100 people, particularly young people as well. It was really, really good. A lot of young people's activities. We had Welcome to Country by Arnie Dye. She complimented on the crowd, the attendance of the crowd and the numbers, so it was really good. So just want to thank council officers, particularly Emma Carter. I believe she organised that event, so well done to all involved. And just provide an update in relation to the Cardinia Foundation. As everyone would know, that we're transitioned from the Casey Cardinia Foundation back to the Cardinia Foundation, and the board is working towards that transition and that renewal and strategic planning. And I just want to acknowledge our CEO, Carol Jeffs, presented to the board of directors last month regarding her thoughts regarding how the board can transition and grow. So I'd like to thank CEO Carol Jeffs for that, for all her efforts in that space, and the directors definitely appreciate that. So we're hoping by the end of this year we'll have a launch of the new foundation, and also call for directors and seek directors, and also February, March next year is when we probably will see the next round of grants being sought and applied for. So I just want to acknowledge that. Thank you, Mayor. Sorry, I've got a very bad cold. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Owen. Would any other councillors like to report on any matters? Councillor Ryan.
Sorry, Councillor Moore. I was a little bit quicker than you this time. Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to follow through with what Councillor Owen said about the Living and Learning event. We followed through with some of the artwork that the youth had done, especially there was artwork with all their hands. They painted their hands and they put it on a canvas, and it was all very colourful. And during the last week, having photographs for the Connect magazine, some of that artwork will be on the back of the Connect photographs that I had with the children at the school there. So, which is really fantastic because it looks really, really great, and it just brings up what that event was all about. So, and also the breakfast, mental health, as everyone knows probably by now, they're sick of hearing me mention it, but mental health has been one of my passion, one of my projects, and I thank the team that has put all these events together, working hard on what the passion has been right through council and before it was brought to council, all these events that need to be out there, need to be talked about. The more we talk about mental health and how it affects people within your everyday life is something that is so important to me, and I'm just so appreciative that council saw the light in me pursuing and pushing, as not pushing, I shouldn't use that word, that's not really a great word, but advocating very intensely about mental health and how it affects people in everyday life. So again, thank you to the team for everything that they do and get some of these events up and running. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a short note. I've got to tell you about the families that you, Councillor Kowalczyk and Councillor Owen talking about. And my when I can't attend some of these events, my daughters go along with my grandchildren. They went to NAIDOC and saw Councillor Owen at NAIDOC. the event, and unfortunately I couldn't get to that, but they were there, and gave me a report back, which I thought was fantastic. And they also went to the creatures lighting artwork, which is just a fantastic thing. That's both daughters and all the grandchildren went there as well. And so after I'd seen it the other night after the I think it was the breakfast or one of the events that was at the Cultural Centre. But anyway, I was just to try to acknowledge that. But on Saturday, the Bunyip and District Community House had a renaming, an Indigenous name, and now it's called the Moyan Centre instead of the Bunyip and District Community Neighbourhood House. And it's after the Indigenous name. It's an Indigenous name for silver wattle, the silver wattle tree, which is very prevalent. There's a lot of it, that is, in the Garfield area. That's why I sort of named it, because it's like this welcoming tree. If you go around Garfield this time of year, you'll see the silver wattle that welcomes you into the Garfield area. So that's what the idea of having this. And so our own Nicole Lucas, who used to work for council, is the coordinator of the Moyan Centre. So she does a great job there, Nicole. I want to acknowledge Nicole tonight, if I may, because she does a really great job in that spot. And I was there sharing the stage with Russell Broadbent, and that is always a difficult thing to follow, Russell, but he allowed me to speak first, so therefore it wasn't too bad. And I'm really representing the Mayor there on Saturday, and it was really great to do that for you, Jeff, under the circumstances. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Moore, and thank you. I appreciate you filling in for that too. Councillor Radford.
Thank you, Mayor. And I'll just quickly continue with that theme of family. I think we all have very supportive families. It's the only way that we can be the great councillors that we are. And like many of you, I've often got one of my kids or two of them tagging along with me to events, and I love how everybody accepts that and has a nice chat with them. So I just wanted to highlight the Cardinia Leadership Program launch. And then on the Saturday, I attended with Councillor Kwasik to a session to discuss leadership and leadership as a councillor. But I was really proud to be at that launch again. I'm an alumni of the program, participated in 2018, and I learned so much from it. And it's really important that we assist our community leaders with these, developing their skills and their knowledge in that leadership space to continue, because they're all volunteers. They're volunteering on community organisations which support our community from a grassroots level. So it's so important, I think, that we continue on with this program and support our community leaders with the organisations that they're giving 100% into freely to organise. So I'm a 100% supporter of this program, and I was really pleased to meet the participants. There were 23 participants for this year, and Helena Maloney has done a lot in that space, and Tony, whose last name has escaped me, who has assisted with facilitating this program. So I know that the participants this year will get a lot out of it. So that's it from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Radford. Would any other councillors like to speak to any items? Councillor Cameron.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to say that I was invited to a meeting with the candidate for Bass, Aaron Brown, and the opposition leader, Matthew Guy. We met at the Lang Lang Showgrounds, and an election commitment for $100,000 for works to be done to the roof of the old change rooms at the Lang Lang Showgrounds was offered up for the committee there. So that was fantastic. That was it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. I think all councillors had a chance to speak. If there's any councillor that would like to speak, please raise your hand. So I might just add a couple of words myself to finish off. two things to mention. Had a wonderful sausage sizzle this morning out in Emerald, ran between the Emerald Police Station, the Hills Hub and the Cardinia Shire through their community safety group, their committee there, and ran by the men's shed there. The sausage sizzle was really well attended. Councillor Owen was out there with his other uniform on, and it was lovely to see, even though it was a cold, wet, raining morning, people out there enjoying their sausages and enjoying some breakfast. And look, I just want to finish off, just to make mention, we talked about family here. I just want to mention, the recent passing of a long-time member of our community, and that was my mother, Beverly Eleanor Springfield. She lived here since 1965. She lived in Emerald. She was born in 21st of July 1945, and she unfortunately passed away last week on the 8th of July. She would have been 77. Come Thursday would have been her birthday. So just want to make mention of my dear mother and all the great things she did within this community over many years, and the help she received from this wonderful community too, which I think is important to mention. For when she reached towards retirement, she went and she joined the Evergreens walking group, and every week the local group would go on these different walks all across, not just this region up here, but would take trips out to different parts of Victoria and organise hikes and walks, and it was keeping people active into their senior years, which was fantastic. She was a long-term member of the Seniors Society, the seniors group up in Emerald, who, she was a very active participant in the morning. They did morning exercise and stuff on the Monday mornings, and she suffered from Alzheimer's. But as the years progressed, that group, the Emerald Seniors group, they really looked after her, and they would come and pick her up and take her to events and keep her included. And it was all about access and inclusion there. And she couldn't really, at the end, before she went to aged care, she really couldn't manage on her own at all. But she had a strong group of people there that helped see her through to the end, really looked after her. Also, just to make one mention of the Fernley House in Emerald, which offers respite services, aged care services to local people in need. And what a wonderful job they did, helping to provide for my mum. 4 days a week she'd go and spend respite down at their house just down the road here in Emerald, Fernley House. And it was such a wonderful community organisation. Didn't cost much if you're on a pension at all, but it gave her a chance to socialise in a time when you're so isolated in your life. So I really encourage any members of the community out there to really look into, what the seniors group does up here, what the seniors groups do across all of Cardinia Shire, of helping to keep people connected as they get older, and you lose so much of what you had. Your family's growing up, they're out and active, you're losing members of your friendship and everything until these end years of your life. So having groups that you can connect with that help keep you, that's social environment connected, so important. I saw that firsthand. So I just wanted to really make mention of these groups and how much I knew they supported my mother through those last years. So thank you, councillors. Moving on, next on the agenda, presentations of petitions. So I'll just ask if any councillors have any petitions they would like to present. There being none, we'll move on to community question time. And just a note, we have received 2 questions for the community from Miss Rosa Santo, and I'll refer both questions to the Chief Executive Officer, Carol Jeffs, to read and answer. So Miss Jeffs, if you would like to do that for me, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Before I go to the questions, I think I would like to acknowledge on behalf of the council the passing of your dear mum and pass on our sincere condolences. So now I will go to the questions from Miss Rosa Santo. Question 1 is to myself. According to the Local Government Act, councillors have reasonable access to childcare while performing their duties. Could you please explain, while during last week's ordinary meeting, 20th of June 2022, that one of your high-profile staff members was looking after Councillor Davies' child while rocking and wheeling Councillor Davies' baby in a pram during the council meeting and while responding in speaking to a resident's question at the time? This is so very unprofessional and distracting to all parties and unfair to the other councillors and the general public. Why did the CEO not inform her staff that this is not part of her duties? Or is it Chambers is not a place for childminding during council meetings? Councillors and staff are there in these meetings to perform their duties in decision making. This is what they're getting paid to do. How are they able to make good decisions while being distracted by these actions in Chambers in these meetings? Is this performing duty written into contracts of SLTs, GMs, EAs or any other staff member? If so, where can we find the information? Thank you for your question, Ms Santo. As an organisation which is committed to gender equality and supporting women to participate in working and in public life, council staff were comfortable with assisting Councillor Davies to fully participate in the council meeting on this one occasion. All councillors are able to access childcare services to support their participation in their public duties. At the time of the last council meeting, the baby was aged only 4 weeks and therefore not able to access funded childcare services. All staff contracts are confidential. Thank you for your question. Through you, Mayor, the second question is also from Ms Santo. Under the Local Government Act 2020, it states clearly what duties are of the Deputy Mayor if the Mayor is unable for any reason to attend a council meeting or part of a council meeting, or is incapable of performing the duties of Office of Mayor for any reason, including illness or the Office of Mayor, or if the Office of Mayor is vacant. Could you please explain to the residents while during last week's Ordinary Council meeting 20th of June 2022 that the Deputy Mayor attended a couple of days conference in Canberra with the Mayor instead of performing their duties by chairing the ordinary meeting that was held last Monday night? Who suggested or encouraged the Deputy Mayor to attend the conference and why? In all the years I have attended these council meetings, a Deputy Mayor has not attended any conferences in Canberra. What was the full cost of the Deputy Mayor to attend this conference? How many nights stay, including flights both ways, accommodation, meals, cost of attending the conference, travel to and from the airport? Did the Mayor and Deputy Mayor use the mayoral car to and from Melbourne Airport, car parking at airport or anywhere else? Use of any taxi? This is an example of using and wasting ratepayers' money for purely conference that the Deputy Mayor should not have attended, as the Deputy Mayor should have been chairing last Monday's ordinary meeting as their duty in council. Ms Santo, thank you for your question. The conference you refer to was the National General Assembly of Local Government convened by the Australian Local Government Association. It's usually an annual event, and the Assembly provides a unique opportunity for local government to engage directly with the federal government and to develop national policy. It was attended by over 1,000 delegates who attended representing councils from across Australia. Representatives from Cardinia Shire Council have regularly attended this conference in previous years, and attendance at the Assembly by the Mayor and Deputy Mayor this year was discussed at a briefing session prior to the conference. The mayoral vehicle was used to drive to Tullamarine Airport and return. The cost of attendance at the Assembly for both the Mayor and Deputy Mayor, including airfares, accommodation, transfers, registration and other aspects, was $5,684.36. I can also advise that due to a late cancellation of a flight booked to Canberra, an alternate arrangement had to be made that resulted in additional costs, and a refund is currently being sought from Qantas. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms Jeffs, for answering those questions. And councillors, that now concludes tonight's meeting. So thank you all for your interest and attentiveness and attention. And I now declare the meeting closed. Thank you and have a good night.